Ultimately, what are costs? At the beginning of the trimester, we defined cost as the subjective value the actor attaches to an end, but not to the end he pursues by acting, but precisely to the end he relinquishes when he decides to embark on a particular course of action. That is the subjective concept of opportunity cost. Well, there is a second, stricter definition of costs in terms of economic calculation, and that second, stricter, more specific definition of costs in terms of economic calculation is as follows. Costs are the amounts, the quantities, or the sums of money which must be paid to acquire factors of production in the market.
Para adquirir factores de producción en el mercado. Y efectivamente, todo empresario,
as a matter of fact, any entrepreneur, while getting an entrepreneurial project off the ground, is constantly purchasing productive factors. She buys the services of many types of labor factor. She may buy a factory or rent commercial premises. She may need computers and programs. There will be an electric bill to pay.
Todos esos importes, en términos.
All of those monetary amounts she pays to buy the complementary factors of production required by the process which she is embarking on and carrying out, and which will culminate in the future in the production of goods that hopefully can be sold at a high enough price, all of those prices she pays for the factors of production are costs in a strict monetary sense. Now, a very clear connection exists between the concept of cost as an instrument of economic calculation, that is, a sum of monetary units paid to acquire factors of production, and the concept of cost in general terms, which we recalled at the beginning, that is, the subjective value we attach to an end we relinquish when we decide to follow a specific course of action. This is very clear. Because when I pay a worker a wage, or I pay an electric bill, or the rent on commercial premises in a production process, that money I am paying for those factors of production could instead have been used to buy other factors of production, or the same factors but employed in a different production process. The very fact that I can estimate the cost in monetary units helps me to be aware of what I am giving up by launching a certain production project. And when the process concludes, when moment t+1 arrives and I sell my good, one of the following possibilities will materialize. 1. That I am able to sell at a price sufficient to permit me to recover the costs and obtain an entrepreneurial profit. Or 2. That once the production process concludes, it turns out I have committed an entrepreneurial error, and the price I receive is lower than the costs I have incurred, and therefore I sustain an entrepreneurial loss. In terms of economic calculation, an entrepreneurial profit is a sign that indicates an entrepreneur has acted wisely. Meanwhile, a loss is a sign that tells the entrepreneur he or she has acted unwisely. In what sense? Well, if an entrepreneur suffers a loss and cannot obtain a price high enough to at least permit him to recover costs with a sufficient profit margin, if he suffers a loss, the sign he is receiving from the spontaneous market order is that he has acted unwisely in the following sense. In the sense that those scarce resources, those factors of production he has acquired in his entrepreneurial process, were more urgently needed and valued by consumers in other production processes. This is what an entrepreneurial loss means. That society's scarce resources have been malinvested because you, as an entrepreneur, have put them to use on an investment project which, when it has matured, has not commanded a price equal to the value of what you have already paid in costs, along with a profit margin. Meanwhile, if you have made a profit, the message is, you're on the right track, keep it up. The use to which you have put society's scarce factors in pursuit of that production project is correct. Consumers would not have placed a higher value on any alternative use for those scarce productive factors. So, let us imagine two production processes. One culminates in a vehicle which can be sold at a high enough price and generates a profit. The other leads to the production of a coastal apartment which, in the end, can only be sold for a fraction of the costs incurred. The market is sending this message. All of those scarce resources, the services of the architect, the building engineer, and the construction workers, the scarce land, the cement, etc., which you have channeled into the production of the apartment, have been misused. You have made an entrepreneurial error, because those scarce resources are more urgently needed in other lines of production. Specifically, in our hypothetical example, in the production of the car. Instead of devoting themselves to the different stages of building the apartment on the coast, those workers should have devoted themselves to building the car, because the production of the car generates a profit. That is, the car can be sold at a price higher than the costs, while the production of the apartment has generated a loss. In a modern economy, entrepreneurial decisions would be impossible without economic calculation. That is, without a free market in which productive factors can be bought and sold and a price can be set for them. It is the very existence of this market, money and free market prices for the factors of production, which permits us to calculate costs and find out if we have profited or lost, and if we have allocated the corresponding factors of production well or poorly. Now, let us imagine that market prices suddenly disappear because the law prohibits a free market, or because money does not exist, or both circumstances at once. How could we know if we had acted wisely in producing the car or the apartment? We would be left completely in the dark. Without economic calculation, we would lose the essential beacon which guides the action of entrepreneurs in the many extremely complex decisions and actions they must carry out daily.